assume that they can. So, hey, Katie.
Hey.
How you doing? Good. So yeah, as far as mindset goes, I think having books, like I don't necessarily love reading. I think I enjoy the result it brings, right? And really, at the end of the day, if you have knowledge, if you have good things, you're gonna have good results. So if you have good knowledge, you're gonna have good results. If you have bad knowledge, typically you'll have bad results, right? So like, if I'm reading news articles of negative things, I mean, yes, it's news, right? And you should be aware of what's going on, but those things aren't necessarily going to bring good results because they're most likely going to be negative, right? Like our iPhone, if you have an iPhone or Android, if you just go left on it, most of that stuff's negative. If you just read through it, it just is. Because they're trying to get your attention, and what bleeds reads. It's a thing heard it my whole life. So something that's negative, typically people want to read about it. Mm-hmm. So in this business,
people love drama.
Yeah, I mean, people love drama. So, but in this business, when you're helping people, like we're in a sales position for sure, but our job is to help people or serve them, right? So like, if you can just keep that mindset and say, okay, what good things can I read? So we have tons of books. Like there's a list of books on Fitz Group website. Those books are awesome. I try to read those at least once a year if I can. There's a bunch of other books. I mean, like John Maxwell, any leadership books are going to be really helpful. Books about like understanding like human psychology and how we think just in general as people. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was listening to a podcast this morning that talked about how really the top companies, if you drill it down and think about it, like Apple doesn't really sell computers. They just they're selling happiness, right? Like even Steve Jobs, he didn't sell how great it was. He sold like how happy you were to bring this computer home with you, right? McDonald's, their food's pretty crappy, right? But their meal is called a happy meal. I mean, I buy McDonald's.
It makes me happy.
Yeah, and I buy McDonald's. Don't get me wrong, because it makes me happy. But it's not. I'm not buying it because the burger's great. So, and we get to decide that every day, like what we choose to think about or read. But I'd say number one, reading is always gonna help you be in a good mindset. Now, I mean, obviously, like Megan is much better at being just very positive without reading. I have a much harder time doing that. And I understand that about myself, and that's fine. Like you understand yourself better than anyone else because it's you. So kind of have to decipher that on your own. But for me, I have to make sure I'm reading consistently. And that's something that's always helping for sure. Another thing too is everyone that you are going to call is a person, right? So, and for like in the beginning, I used to get super emotional with the business, like very emotional, which I think I sometimes still do, but not nearly as much. And like I'm emotional because I want to help people, but I don't take things about the business personally like I used to in the beginning, which, you know, I think if I would have spent more time in the beginning making that decision, like, hey, I'm not going to take this personal, right? It has nothing really to do with me. If someone hangs up or doesn't answer or whatever, right? Because it's not about you. Like they're dealing with something else. Mm-hmm. Like anytime someone says something rude to you, they're just projecting something that they haven't dealt with or that they're going through and they haven't had an outlet, so they're just taking it out on you. right? Or they've never had someone in a service position stick with them long enough to actually help them, right? So, and I've had tons of clients where I just stick with them long enough, and then they tell me all this stuff, and then I'm able to actually help them. So that's another thing too. Just remember, like, be yourself. These are people that have asked for help, right? And with leads, like, we'll get into a little bit more detail in a minute, but leads are really just like an individual that has a name and a phone number that express interest at some point in time. And that's really the definition of a lead. Like, yes, there's better leads than others for sure, but overall, that's what a lead is. So we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to do a professional job with that, if that makes sense, right? We can't expect the lead to be professional. The lead is just there.
Right.
It's our job to be professional and go serve them, right? That's why we make sales on year-old leads, because other agents didn't want to stick with it long enough. Or they're like, well, that didn't work. I called them once. I'm not going to call them again, right? When another agent called them 3 or 4 times and then finally was able to help them, right? So how I think about it is, obviously you want to read like who you're spending time with. Like, if you're spending time with people that are talking junk to you about what you're doing, it's probably not going to help you. Like, you need people who are supportive. Obviously, if you have friends that make jokes, that's different, but that's a big deal too. But how I think about it with leads is, like, these are, I don't know where they were when they put in the request or what was going on in their life. But what I do know is that if I met Diana the minute she was filling out a lead card or on one of our websites, because there's a bunch of them, if I were able to teleport to her at that moment, we would make every sale. If we were able to go to the mailbox when they were putting it in there, we would make every sale, right?
Right.
The only reason, and then time passes, and that's the time gap is, but right, that's why we don't make every sale, because there's time that went by. Now, eventually you will make that sale because life happens, right? Something in someone's life is going to happen eventually to get them to think about it again. That's why we tell you, hey, call all leads, not just one brand new, because, like, you don't know what's going on. So that's also why we train to, whether you're part-time or full-time, continue to do that week in and week out, because you don't know the time when the timing's going to be. So you show up, right? There's been multiple times where it's like been months on end, someone finally answered and was ready to talk. Katie knows this. Yeah. And those clients, have given me tons of referrals. Like, it's just, we don't want to put a limit on that. So back to the point of being there when someone's filling out the request. I think about it like, before I dial, like, I just think in my head that this person was getting home from work and they sat down in their lady boy chair to watch 60 Minutes. And then their wife or their husband was like, or whoever they care about, son, could be grandchild, whatever, right? Said, hey, could you go check the mail? And they're like, all right, I'm comfy, but I love you, so I'll go check the mail. And then they go check the mail. They see mortgage protection, final expense, life insurance, whatever it is. Or if it's an online request, right? They see something that they're like, I probably should inquire about this because I know I need it. And I want someone to tell me that, to push me to it, because I'm not going to do it on my own, but that's why I'm going to fill this out, right? And then they take time to fill it out, fold it up, or put in their information, right? And send it off. So to me, it's like, they're asking me, like, I'm like, this person's asking you to at least get in touch with them to have a conversation about what they asked for. Right? That's how I think about it. Now, you can choose to think about it however, if there's another way to think about it, that's fine, but that's always helped me. Because, like, we're all people. We all have someone in our life that we care about, or multiple people, right? And so that's huge for me, the reading and just thinking that way about it. And realizing that, like, if someone did ask for help, like, someone's going to help them at some point in time. Why not me? Like, I got the request, so why not me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a team of people that I can lean on, even though I may not know, I may be new in the business or I've been here a while. Doesn't matter. I still have people that have my back. So, and I know that I'm the best person for the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because why? Well, because I got to request it. It came to me.
And you are the best person for the job.
Right. Like, there's a difference between confidence, which is, I know I'm the best person for this job, and then arrogance, which is, I'm better than anyone else doing this job. We're not going to be arrogant, right? We're going to be confident, which is, I know I'm the best for this job, not I'm better than everybody else. So, and then at that point, it just comes down to putting in enough activity on that to reach whatever goal you want to hit. The business is super mathematical. I mean, I started part-time, only worked a day a week for almost a year. And I set a goal to make a certain amount of income. And did I have to make a lot of adjustments? Yeah.
Is your microphone on?
Yeah.
Is it green? Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear?
Stephanie said she couldn't hear you, but
yeah, I don't know. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I haven't seen any chats. But if you can't hear me, let us know.
You're coming through just fine.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so I digress on all that. And then the other thing I'll say is, like, prior to this business, you have whatever life experience you had or whatever job experience you had, that is unique, and that's a powerful thing you can bring here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you grow? Can you grow in this business? Yeah, but whatever you did leading up to this point, that's some powerful info and stuff that's already in you that you can just immediately apply and get success. Like, the business, there's a lot to the business. It's a massive industry. There's tons of money in it. People need it. It helps people. There's a lot of information. But at the end of the day, it is very simple. It's a very simple, right? So be comfortable in your own skin, that, like, whatever your life experience or previous jobs or whatever, like, that's unique to you. And that's something that you can apply here. Period. And be comfortable in that. Like, the people who do well here are comfortable in their own skin.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if you're doing 20 grand a month or a policy a month. That depends on your schedule. Like, the work part can determine how much you write, and recruit, right? But we all have unique skills. The main thing is be comfortable in your own skin and just try to get better every day, right?
Right.
So hope that helps on the mindset part. I mean, I can say some other stuff, but that's really the basis of it. We're in a sales role, yes, but our job's to go help people.
Give them an example on something you do to help get your mindset in the right place. Like, let's say you've had a really bad day yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or something in your own life happened that messes you up emotionally or mentally. How do you get back on track with making sure you're not projecting your own feelings on a lead you're about to dial, or a client appointment that you're about to walk in, or an agent that you're about to call to help coach? How do you kind of?
I mean, I try not to make judgments at all. Like, my job is not to judge people or anything really, right? Like, so I just try not to judge. I try not to judge a lead for what it is. But I mean, that's a good question. I'd have to think about that. Another thing too, like, I don't think it's really about me either, right? Like, I try to remember, like, if I'm getting upset, it's like, okay, this isn't about you. Like, you need, like, this is someone else you're going to.
You take yourself back to the lazy boy story.
Right. Like, it's not about me, like, regardless of how I'm feeling. But if I need to get up and walk around and, like, listen to something and read, that's cool. But at the end of the day, I need to at least do my best to get back with that person.
Right. Because I would say that life happens for all of us,
yeah,
right? And
everyone's dealing with something. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
I know you and I a lot, whenever, or if you have a lead that responds not the way you were hoping, or a client call and cancel, or whatever it is that happens, you and I a lot will get up and maybe just take a lap, like walk outside for a second, get some fresh air, take a deep breath, and get your mindset back in a place where you can genuinely, with good intention, speak to the person that you're about to speak to in the way that they need to be spoken to, because it's, again, not about you, but it's about the person that you're about to call, or the person that you're about to sit with.
right. And then another thing I'll say too is, like, know what, define what you want from the business too. I really would say that daily, honestly. Because we can't accomplish something. We can accomplish things we can't define, but it's very difficult.
Right.
Like,
you lose motivation quickly in that scenario.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, that's true. But at the end of the day, if we're not continuously defining what, like, we want from the business, like, yes, we're helping people, but it's also your business.
Right.
Right. So if you're ever not clear on what you want out of it, it can create other things that will make you unsure. Does that make sense? And then you're not going to take any action or feel confident in taking that action. That makes sense, right? So that's something that's really helpful too. Like, if you're part-time, which I think, most people who come in the business do start part-time, unless, like, Katie, you came from another marketing company, right? So I don't know if you came in full-time automatically.
Kind of had no choice.
Right. So there is people who come in full-time, but majority of us start somewhat part-time. So, and all I'm saying is just know, like, and we're going to get into the schedule part of it, but know what your goal is, so that you can clearly define how you need to get there. If that makes sense.
I know it might seem like we're talking about this and going, maybe talking about this longer than you'd hope us to, but this part of it is actually more important than the rest of it, because if this part isn't tied down and you don't know what you want from the business, or you don't know what you're after, or you're not in the right mindset to be making phone calls, then the rest of it doesn't really matter. So, is someone calling me?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Sorry about that, guys. I had a call come in that knocked me off. But anyway, that's kind of why we're focusing and harping down on that, because that's really the most important thing. And writing down the goals and defining what you want doesn't have to be this big, hairy, audacious goal unless that motivates you, right? Unless you're shooting for something that you're stretching for. That has helped us as we've progressed, but just starting with, I want to sell, or I want to help 3 families a week, or I want to help 1 agent help 3 agents a week, whatever it is. Write it down daily so that it's in front of you and it's something that is attainable and something that you're keeping in front of you, so you shoot for that, if that makes sense. Okay, so I think we've got that down. So if you're not reading, you should start reading at least 15 minutes a day. Just pick up a book, any book that is, I personally like to read stuff that helps me understand. Like I nerd out on like finance stuff. I don't know, it's just what I like. And I find that it helps me be more confident and competent in conversations that I have with things that I'm shooting for in my business currently. But just start with something. If you don't know what to read, Think and Grow Rich would be a great place to start. That's a great book. Think and Grow Rich. So 15 minutes a day. Don't make it 15 hours a day. 15 minutes a day will change your life with reading. Also, podcasts. Obviously, we live in that type of world now. I love listening to podcasts. We have talked about for years that you should make your car a rolling university. I love music. I love to listen to all types of music, really, except for like screamo. I'm not really into that, but I've had to train myself over the years that that's not an effective or productive unless it is. Like sometimes if I'm in a bad mood and I need to be picked up when I'm about to walk into a home, and that music is the only thing that's going to make me feel or put me in the right space, absolutely 100% I'm listening to music. But but otherwise, I'm really trying to always think about, am I moving myself in a forward direction, or is this just keeping me where I am? I think about that when I think about the people that I hang around. I think about that when I am choosing what I'm going to listen to or read, or what I'm about to watch, or what event I'm going to go to, or you know what I mean? Like all those things. And